Today we're going to look at some oddball strange items that we sold for some decent money. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to show you some of the odd or strange items that we do sell on a regular basis. These are items we pay almost nothing for that routinely get us a huge amount of profit pretty much all the time. Let's hop over and look at some right now. So here we are with just some random items that I picked. This is a vintage meter for a camera. This was made in Germany, probably in the 1930s. Paid $1. You can see what it's sold for. It's been up for a little while. We always sell this sort of vintage camera stuff. I just put it up, forget about it, and it sells fairly regularly. Now here's a book from 1859, Union Tabernacle History, Movable Tent Church. Now this is a fairly scarce book. We sold it for just under $100. Fairly happy with that. I paid $1 for a whole bunch of books a piece, and this is just one of them. Put it up, forget about it, and off it goes. Interesting topic. Obviously it is very old. It has the tissue paper lining it as well to cover up the prints so they don't get damaged and the whole works. Now we sold a whole bunch of lots of vintage photos of U.S. soldiers in China during World War II and some that go back to World War I. They all sell very well. We sold a whole bunch. I just pulled up a couple of the more interesting ones. You can see the sailors in a couple of rickshaws. Interesting image. And here is a street scene in China as well. There's some signs on the building, so if someone spoke Chinese or could read it, they'd probably know what that building was. I'm guessing it's some sort of train station by the looks of it. Again, just a few of them that sold. We routinely sell photos constantly. Photos are something I sell all the time. We've got thousands of them in-house right now. Steve Martin has been extremely hot selling-wise. We've sold a ton of Steve Martin, all types of different people. Here's just another one at $18.50. Now this one here, we've sold quite a few of this exact same one. We had a little stack of them. Shirtless Steve Martin. They do extremely well. $34.50 as you can see. Now here's a Tommy Tamika car. It's just a vintage diecast car from 1979. It sold for $15.75. I got like a nickel into this one here. These oddball brands still do sell. They're not going to go for a fortune like a Hot Wheels Redline or something, but they do still sell very well for what you get into them. Vintage car parts we do extremely well with also. Here's a Chrysler car part. It's ignition plate and brush. Never been out of the box. I bought a whole bunch of these, $1 a part, no matter what they were, as is, you know, so I didn't really have a chance to look them up. I bought a whole bunch of parts, and we pretty much sold all of them. I don't mind if something sets for a little while. $20.99 for $1 investment. Here's a couple rolls of 1948 unused original film from back in the day. I mean, this film has been sitting there for over 70 years, never exposed, never used. I have no idea if these are still usable, but people do buy them. I know some of the 35mm people will still actually use, and they can compensate the exposure for the age and things like that. No idea what they'll do with these, but I'm fine with it. I have nothing into these. Photos, as I said, here's another one with Glenn Ford. I'm sure that's why this one sold here. It's a CBS TV show promo. Now here's a Santa Claus card. These are going like mad right now. Those in Patreon, you've already seen this one as well as another one in here. But Santa Claus stuff are extremely hot. They're flying off the shelf right this very second. This is the best time right now to sell it now, before we get in the fourth quarter where it's too late to do things with these type of things. So excellent one here. I believe we got around 40 or 50 bucks for this one here. Now, there's been some conversation on whether knives or not are still allowed on eBay. The pocket knives, from what I see, are still allowed. We just sold this lot of 3 right here. So if you have this sort of thing and you're not sure, I would contact eBay to make sure it's okay to list those items to begin with. Florence Ballard, just another 8x10 here. These, again, all across the board, whatever the topic, we do very well. TV, singing stars, actresses, actors, military-related, air-related, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. All pretty much 8x10s we get our hands on like this of famous people or events or something always sell extremely well for us. Now, this was an interesting piece. I picked up a collection of these from an estate. This is from raw silk. This is a paper label that would have went on a piece of silk bought in Japan or exported from Japan back in the 1880s. So, nice piece, fabulous artwork in my book. Really underpriced, but there's not a huge market for these. That's the biggest issue with them. Now here's an FAO Schwartz Santa Claus. We got 90 bucks, I do believe, or right around 100 bucks for this one here. It's been up for a little while. No problem at all. These always sell this time of year, all the way up. So these are great items to get. It's a advertising card for a toy bazaar. Jim Beam, this is a sample label. This was created just to advertise their wear, something that they could hand out and show people what they would be producing or what they could buy. Sometimes when you sent a letter to one of these companies, they would send you a sample one in the mail. Adults would collect these or ask for them, and that's what they literally did. Punched into there with little tiny hole punches is the word sample across the label. So if you hold it up to the light, you can see the word sample literally shining through the label. Nice price. I'm happy whenever I sell these. I've got nothing into these. I can pick these up for pennies in massive quantities most of the time. Here's an interesting one. This is an Italian press Diane Warwick. Just an interesting one. Window of the World is one of the more popular ones that most people should know on this one. It was pressed in Italy, and the cover was printed in Italy as well. This was made for their market and then exported back over to this country. $52.50. Happy with that. It's been up for a little while. I have a quarter or 50 cents into this. Most of the foreign records like this I can get for almost nothing because most people don't think there's a value, or they're not sure on how to look it up, and they'll pass on these most of the time. Labels, roller skating labels here. You can see what it sold for. It has some damage. There was a hole in it. But these are extremely scarce. You just don't find this sort of thing. They were just stuck somewhere, and that was it. So when they do turn up, I do nab them every single time. I sell these constantly. It's a really oddball item. Most people would think that something like this with the rip in it and all is not going to sell for $34.50, but we get that out of these all the time. Now, early baseball cards. Some of the very earliest baseball cards on record in all the price guides are these Pioneer Age ones. This is an advertisement for Merchant Gargling Oil. It's a snake oil, basically. It's just faux medicine with no really testing to prove it did anything. This has long since been, banned in this country, this sort of thing. But the advertisements are great. Some of the earliest baseball images in general and trading cards in general for baseball come from this sort of thing right here. Now, Soapine. Soapine has been around for a very long time. It is probably one of the biggest collectible soap areas there is Soapine. And there's a whole book just on Soapine trade cards as well. And this one's one of the scarcest ones. I think this one is actually pictured on the cover of the guide for these. It's by Kendall Manufacturing Company. They made soap of all different types, but this is one of the scarcest ones. This is only one of two of these I've ever seen in my life. I got nothing into it, like 50 cents at the most. This is pretty much the same size as a postcard, roughly, and they do show up that way, especially when they're blank backs. This is not, but this is a very nice, bright, beautiful card in my book. Now, a lot of people don't think much on swing jazz. This is early swing. Woody Herman, very well known, extremely well known. He's tied with all of the bigwigs of the day and the whole works. So he's got a very big collectible field in his aspect of it. This is what an album would be. An LP, what we collect these days, would have been back for the 78s. It had multiple records to keep that amount of space, the same amount of songs as a modern day LP, but it took many different discs. This one did sell for $40.25. I paid $2 for this as you see it for the entire thing. Excellent item. Even without the records, sometimes we still sell the empty cardboard sleeve, the picture sleeves from the 78s for 15, 20, 30, even 50, 60 bucks, depending on the artist that's on it. Sheet music, of course, Bimini Bay. It's a known song from back in the day. It's been in a few movies. This is a Gus Kahn piece. He's the lyricist for this. Most Gus Kahn pieces do carry some sort of value. Maybe not huge, but I have nothing into this. This is one of those freebies that was given to us quite a while back, and we've been selling them ever since. We do still sell pottery and things along that, like only specifically tied to certain areas. This is specifically tied to the railroad industry and transportation in general. This is a 1930s or 40s set. If I'm not mistaken, this was available on a specific train or at a station or something like that. There's a whole set of these. There's big dinner plates, which we've had, coffee mugs, cup and saucers, soup bowls, dishes, and the whole works. I sold another one too. The bowls have a slightly different design structure than the plates, but you can tell it's very obvious from the same pattern. These do extremely well. I buy them in many times in multiple quantities, as you can see. I had several of these. Now, in this sort of thing, I don't mind listing that we have a whole bunch all at once, because people want to use these as a whole set. So this is just like collecting china. People might want a service for 8, 9, 10. So this is one of those areas I wouldn't list one at a time. I would list all that I had in the hopes of selling them all to one person and being done with them. I paid $0.25 a piece for around 60 pieces of this china at a junk sale somewhere. I've had them for a little while. No big deal. They sell fairly regularly. It's not something that you're going to make a fortune on, but at the cost I have into them and the amounts of money I'm making just from selling one of these, it's a huge profit either way you go. Well, there you are. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Hello? Somebody out there? E.T. Video game?
E.T. is the Atari video game cartridge you have to buy separately to play on the Atari video computer system. Your parents hook it up to the TV. It's the video game that lets you help E.T. get home.
E.T.
This is the Atari video computer system. E.T. and other video game cartridges are each sold separately.